You were what inspired you to write the book? Did someone talk you into it, or was it something you wanted to share?
Yeah, I thought about it a few times, but I never really knew how to like start the process. And then it was somebody who actually approached me, and they did it as a ghostwriter would interview me, and then he put together like the meat of the book. So the hardest part for me was after that it was more editing it and making sure that everything was in the right order, the way I'd said things had been interpreted correctly, and just like little things like that. um,
I
so
haven't
that
fin-
was kind of the hardest part.
Yeah, I haven't finished the book. I had actually forgotten until a few days ago that you had actually written a book. As I was digging around, I'm like, oh yeah, and then I went to go buy it on Audible on in the Apple Tunes bookstore, and I realized I must have already bought it. That's how shitty my memory is. You know, when you see a book and you're like, oh, I'm gonna read that, and so you buy it, and then next thing you know, you're not reading it. Um, it sounds like you had a great upbringing. It sounds like life you've had at least to the portions of the book that I've read, you were you had a mom that loved you, you had a very supportive family, a supportive brother, and that you've always kind of been this grounded person who you are.
Yeah, I think like my mum has always been very supportive, and as I was growing up, she always wanted me and my brother to kind of like try everything and experience everything. So even when my dad left and she was working full time to support us, she still made sure that we were taken to football or we were taken to swimming. We had music lessons, and luckily, her parents were both teachers. So summer holidays and like after school, if she was still working, there was somebody there that was making sure that we were still wanting to do if we were like pursuing like I used to play the piano and the cello, so it was like we always had somebody that was very supportive and making sure that if we wanted to pursue something we were able to do those extracurricular activities.
Did your was your dad I in the book it says, oh, then my mom remarried, but I don't ever remember reading in the book about your parents getting a divorce. Was that before you were old enough to remember, or?
Yeah, no, I was 11ish when they separated. So I kept in touch with my dad and still saw my dad for probably another year, another 2 years, until I was kind of at the age to realize he would try and play my mum offers and stuff, and my mum was busting her ass off to like provide everything for me and my brother. So I was kind of like, you know what? I don't need you in my life to feel whole. Like my mum's doing everything she can to ensure that our lives are just as good as anybody with both their parents in there. So I kind of made that decision that it was more toxic with him being in it than it was without him. So that was kind of like my decision to make. Um, and then a couple of years down the line, my mum remarried, and my stepdad. Uh, Unfortunate for him, coming into our lives as teenagers, probably the hardest time to all of a sudden become a father. But he did a good job.
So wait a second. So you were smart enough to know at 11 or 12 years old that, like, hey, I'm you're done,
there
dad.
was there was just little things that would happen, and I was at the age where I could then see uh, like what he was doing, how it was affecting my mum, and how he didn't necessarily have mine and my brother's best interests at heart. He was kind of doing things uh, maybe um, out of feeling like he had to do things as opposed to trying to do things to better mine and my brother's lives.
Is Did your brother give him the straight arm too, and make him keep his distance, or did your brother
Uh,
take a different route?
he saw my dad for longer than me, and he's now back in touch with my dad. I think my dad tried to get back in touch with me when I joined the fire service. My first station in the fire service was actually next door to where he used to be in the police force. So I think rumor got to him that I joined the fire service, and he tried to get back in touch. But I was kind of like, hey, I'm like 24 now. What happened to the last 12 years? If you really wanted to get in touch with me, you would have done kind of like sooner. So I was like, I'm good, thanks.
Wow. How many people lived in your town?
Oh, I don't know that.
The reason why I ask is what a small world that you would end up getting a job right next door to where you're. I
Yeah,
mean,
and it wasn't even in the like town where so the brigade that I was is kind of like county based. So you could have been anywhere in the whole of West Yorkshire, and it literally was. I got posted. My first posting was in Morley, and I think it was his last posting before he retired was Morley, and they're literally like side by side. There's a wall and a gated fence separating the two.
wow, what a trip! What a small world.